Every evening, Daniel walked past the same street on his way home from work. It was a busy street in the center of the city, filled with people rushing toward buses, restaurants, and apartment buildings. There were usually street musicians there, but Daniel rarely stopped to listen. After a long day at work, he only wanted to get home, eat something simple, and forget about the noise of the city. Then, one evening, he heard a guitar. The music was not very good. The boy playing it was probably 14 or 15 years old, and his fingers often moved to the wrong strings. Sometimes he stopped in the middle of a song and started again. A few people smiled as they walked past, while others dropped a coin into the open guitar case. Daniel was about to continue walking when he noticed something strange. The boy was playing the same song he had heard several days earlier. The next evening, the boy was there again, playing the same song. And the evening after that. After a week, Daniel began to recognize the melody before he even saw the boy. It was always the same slow song, played with the same 3 or 4 mistakes. One rainy evening, Daniel finally stopped. The boy looked up from his guitar. He seemed surprised that someone was actually listening. "You always play this song," Daniel said. The boy smiled a little and looked down at the guitar. "My father used to play it." Daniel nodded, expecting him to say more, but the boy simply continued playing. There was something about the way he said those words that stayed with Daniel. It did not sound like a simple memory. It sounded like the boy was holding on to something. The next day, Daniel stopped again. This time, the boy's guitar case was almost empty. There were only a few coins inside, and the cold wind was becoming stronger. Daniel put some money into the case and sat on a bench nearby. When the song ended, the boy looked at him. "You don't have to keep playing that song," Daniel said. "There are probably easier songs." The boy laughed quietly. "I know." "Then why do you keep playing it?" The boy looked at the guitar for a long moment before answering. "Because it is the only song my father ever taught me." Daniel looked at him more carefully. He noticed that the boy's guitar was old and scratched, with a small crack near the bottom. It was clearly not an expensive instrument. "Does your father still play?" Daniel asked. The boy shook his head. "He can't." Daniel thought his father might have died, but he did not ask. Instead, he thanked the boy for the music and left. For some reason, however, the story stayed in his mind. A few days later, Daniel returned to the street earlier than usual. The boy was there, but he was not playing. He was sitting beside his guitar and staring at the people passing by. Daniel bought him a hot drink from a nearby cafe and sat beside him. The boy's name was Noah. He told Daniel that his father had once worked in a small garage outside the city. His father loved music, even though he had never learned to play properly. He had an old guitar and only knew a few songs. When Noah was 10, his father began teaching him. They would sit outside their apartment in the evening while his father showed him where to put his fingers. Noah was not very patient. He wanted to learn quickly, but his father always told him that making mistakes was part of learning. Then, 3 years earlier, something happened. His father made a serious mistake at work. He lost his job, and after that, everything in the family became difficult. There were debts, arguments, and problems that Noah did not fully understand. One night, his father left home. He was later arrested and sent to prison for something he had done during a desperate attempt to get money. Noah had not seen him since. Daniel listened without interrupting. He had expected a sad story, but he had not expected to feel so sorry for the boy. Noah was still young, yet he spoke about his family with the quiet voice of someone who had learned too early that some problems could not be fixed easily. After that evening, Daniel began seeing Noah almost every day. Sometimes he brought him food. Sometimes they simply talked. Daniel never asked Noah to stop playing on the street because he knew that the guitar meant more to him than money. One evening, Noah told him that his father would soon be released from prison. Daniel was happy for him, but Noah did not look happy. "My father doesn't want to see me," he said. Daniel was surprised. "Why?" Noah looked down at his hands. "He says he is ashamed. He thinks I will hate him." Daniel thought about his own father, whom he had not spoken to for several years. Their relationship had never been as painful as Noah's, but they had slowly become strangers after years of arguments and silence. Daniel had always told himself that there was plenty of time to fix it. Now, listening to Noah, he wondered if he had simply been waiting for the other person to make the first move. Over the next few weeks, Daniel tried to convince Noah that his father might be afraid, not unwilling. But Noah did not know what to say to him. So Daniel suggested something simple. "Play the song for him." Noah looked at him as if the idea were strange. "He taught you that song," Daniel continued. "Maybe he needs to hear it again." The day before Noah's father was released, Daniel helped him repair the guitar. One of the strings was broken, and the wooden body had become loose near the bottom. They spent almost 2 hours fixing it in a small music shop. When they finished, Noah played the song. For the first time, he played it without making a mistake. He smiled. The next morning, Noah went to the prison with his guitar. Daniel did not go inside with him. He waited across the street, sitting in a small cafe and looking through the window. Nearly an hour passed. Then he saw a man come out of the prison gate. The man looked older than Daniel had imagined. His hair was almost completely gray, and he walked slowly, carrying a small bag in one hand. Noah stood several meters away. For a moment, neither of them moved. The father looked at his son, then at the guitar. Noah took a deep breath and began to play. It was the same song he had played every evening on the street. The man stood completely still. Then he covered his face with one hand. Noah kept playing. When the song ended, his father walked toward him. Daniel could not hear what they said. He only saw the father put his arms around his son, and Noah finally began to cry. It was not a perfect reunion. The past did not disappear that day, and the mistakes Noah's father had made could not simply be forgotten. There would still be difficult conversations, broken trust, and many things they would need to understand about each other. But they had taken the first step. Several months later, Daniel passed the same street again. He expected to see Noah playing alone. Instead, he saw two people sitting together. Noah was holding the guitar, while his father sat beside him, quietly tapping his foot to the music. The song was still the same. But this time, Noah was not playing it alone. Daniel stood across the street for a moment and smiled. He thought about how strange life could be. A song that had once sounded like a lonely memory had become a bridge between two people who thought they had lost each other forever. Daniel continued walking home, but before he disappeared into the crowd, he heard Noah make a small mistake on the guitar. His father laughed. Noah laughed too. Then they started the song again. And somehow, the mistakes no longer mattered. Because sometimes, we do not need to erase the past to begin again. Sometimes, we only need to find the courage to play the unfinished song one more time, hoping that someone we love is still willing to listen. It is never too late to rebuild a broken relationship. Sometimes, one small act of courage can bring two people back to each other.